off, you guys can see. I'm pretty sure this is a problem. This is our exhaust. Porting your head isn't going to give you a ton of horsepower. It's just going to help it flow better. And then the supportive fuel and the supportive air modifications, turbo, bigger injectors, that's going to help us make more power. For everything that's not hogging out a bunch of material, I got this thing. My old man's super nice. He picked it up. He does leather working and he was going to use it for what he does. It's a variable speed rotary tool with a flex shaft. And it's got a foot controller down there so you can control the speed. It's a pretty nice piece of equipment. You can get it going super slow and really fast. This thing's making my life a lot easier. But kind of a side-by-side. Right there in the middle of the screen's an old intake. And that's what a new intake looks like. A lot more airflow. This edge has been taken off. Up here has been taken off. Down in the pathway inside, a lot's been taken off. So these are gonna flow a lot better. And a lot of degreaser. Basically just made a ghetto homemade hot tank. They're not even boiling yet, and a lot of that junk's already coming off. You guys can see it's starting to look a little bit better. Probably gonna have to aggregate it a little bit with a wire brush, but yeah, a lot of that stuff off the springs is coming off. Let it sit for a little bit longer. Not a perfect comparison, but got the majority of the goop off of these valves. The reason I wanted to try something different besides just wire wheeling, one, I didn't want to mess up the seats, even though they're kind of rough already and we're going to be lapping them anyway. But when I was working on the pistons, I could not get any of this stuff to come off. The carbon buildup was just, it was gnarly. I soaked it in brake clean for 3 days, carb cleaner for 2 days. None of it would come off. So I decided to use some heat and degreaser. It's working pretty good. So what we're doing right now is grinding the valves down. Basically, you put a medium. In this case, it's a valve grinding compound. It's like sand almost, suspended in water. And you put that right on the valve seat, then you rub it back and forth. Then you guys can see this one's not fully flat yet. It's not a perfect match, so we're gonna have to keep grinding this one down. These dark spots are where it hasn't been ground down yet, and then all of these are the high spots. You can see them kind of the top and the bottom. This middle's kind of wore out a little bit. Some of you have probably seen guys throw drills on the valves. I'm guilty of it myself. I've done it before. That's not actually the right way to do it. It's a lot faster and you don't have to put in all that manual labor, but if you go in a circle, if there's like grit in there, it'll actually cut grooves in a circle, and that's not how you have a perfectly flat surface. You want these to basically where no air gets through. And the only way to do that is by going back and forth, lifting, repositioning. We're gonna be here for a while. As well as wire wheeling the other night, I let it sit with some evapor rust on it. It's looking a lot better. It's not perfect, but I'm gonna rinse this off, dryer, give her a paint job. Now we're gonna heat up the head, just try to get some of the moisture out of it. There's a fellow commented last video that he had a good point. When you do it like this, you'll see a line of moisture running along it. He said that's probably just condensation forming, but this is the way I do things and I don't want to change it and have the head end up bad and then the rest of the block fine. So once we got a neutral flame, we can bring it over. That way we're not getting soot on it. And yeah, I'm just heating up the block, trying to get all the moisture out of it. Don't have a heating tip, just have a cutting tip, but we're being careful. Got the first coat on everything. It's looking pretty good. Still wet. Second coat's on. I know it looks rough in the video, but just trust the process here. These are our rocker arms and pedestals. We're gonna get them cleaned up, ready to go in. Really aren't doing too much work for them. Before you lube everything, make sure you get in the oil passage. These are different lengths. Just double check you got them on the right side. She's all painted now. Still got a lot of work we got to do to this head. I'm going to start with reaming the valve guides. If you guys haven't used a reamer, it's kind of like a drill bit, not entirely. There's no sharp tip on it for cutting. It's for a pre-drilled hole and making it square, right? So that's what we want with all of these. These have a little bit of resistance. You can feel it with the valve when you're pushing it in. It's not totally straight. So we're gonna run a reamer through all these, just real fast, 1 or 2 passes. Should be a lot better. Lube it up. I know you guys can't feel it, but that is a lot smoother than it was before. Next thing we're doing, installing some valve seals. Normally you can get most of them started by hand. If you can't though, small little hammer is a good way to go. Now if I could afford fancy machine work, you can cut these to fit the, I'm not sure if they're a totally different design or the newer design for later models, but there's a different valve seal that's apparently better. Cannot afford the fancy machine work, so this is what we're rocking with. One last wipe down of all these parts. They've been sitting on the table for a couple, honestly, weeks now. I got put on a different work schedule, slowed this project down a lot. So I just want to make sure that there's nothing big on any of these. Metal on metal parts, get assembly lube. Next step, gotta get ready to compress these valves. You guys remember in the previous episode, I made my own homemade valve spring compressor tool, but this was cheap enough. I figured it'd speed up my process enough to warrant the price of it. put our keepers in. They're tapered, so they're kind of hard to put them in backwards, but if you aren't paying attention, you definitely could. Start loosening it, watch them, double check that they're being seated. My previous tool definitely took way longer than this one, and it was jerry-rigged. If I saw a picture of this thing, I probably could have made one similar, but I'll put a screenshot of the tool I use. But now just whap them a couple times, make sure that they don't pop out. Just hitting them a couple times is going to save you a lot of time in the long run and damage to your engine if these aren't seated properly. One of these, yeah, it's that one. Tap it down. Okay, that's going in there crooked. This has been a very long time coming, getting this head on the block. We're not done yet. But the reason this is taking so long, if you guys have been watching the channel, I ordered a 20 thousandths overhead gasket, so it's 20 thousandths thicker. And that has taken over 2 months to come in, and it still hasn't showed up. This is the stock head gasket. I was measuring piston protrusion, and I realized that we had a little bit too much, way more than stock. So I decided to get a thicker head gasket, keep things the same. But I guess we're just gonna have to run a higher compression ratio, and hopefully these valves don't kiss the pistons. So for this build, you have 3 different size head bolts. With any head installation, you want all your head bolts to be clean. All of these were wired wheel very gently just to get the crud out, and then lubricate them with clean oil before you install them. Now when you lubricate the threads in the head right here. If you install them dry, won't be the correct torque. All these short ones go up front. So, I'm gonna put some assembly lube on this whole thing. Well, if you guys are a keen observer, you probably already noticed that I forgot to put the push rods in. Happens to the best of us. This is straight out of the factory manual. This is showing you what bolts you do in order for torquing down this head gasket. I already have everything snugged up. I fixed all those push rods, so we're good now. We're in the same orientation as this paper, so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So torque sequence and so on. Shouldn't be too bad. I believe we're torquing this to 66 foot-pounds. Let's get it. Now these head bolts, all of these are torqued down to 66 foot-pounds, but these head bolts that go through the rocker pedestals, they have to be torqued to an additional 90 foot-pounds. And then we got to retorque all of these one more time, 90 degrees. So we ran into a slight problem doing this build. And when I was checking the piston protrusion, I was like, wow, that is a lot. It's a lot more than stock. I have the numbers on a piece of paper somewhere. I was really worried about that, so I installed the head with a stock cylinder gasket, and the valve clearance was a little bit low. So I got a 20 thousandths thicker head gasket, which is the thickest that they make, and hopefully that's going to clear up our issues. Clearance, I'm talking piston to valve clearance. So your valves to the top of your pistons, normally to be super safe, you need at least 80 thousandths. This motor with a 20 thousandths head gasket should be close to about 66, 67 thousandths. So I got a little gift to hopefully prevent us from having any issues. Some new valve springs. The stock ones, as they sit right now, not compressed any more than that, they should be exerting about 90 pounds of pressure. These new ones should exert 150 pounds of pressure just sitting there. Once they get compressed, they can exert over 300. 67 thousandths of an inch is a very short gap, and that gap can reduce quite a bit with heat and also valve float, valve lift. Hopefully those springs are going to help us out with that. This is definitely a way more serious spring if you compare the two side by side. If that one wasn't obvious enough, here's the new one. There's the old one, uncompressed, just so you have an idea. That's crazy. Now, doing an upgrade like that, you have to be mindful that the springs do cause a lot more wear and tear on your valve train. This is our Cummins 20 thousandths oversized head gasket. So let's throw her on there. Next up, got our push rods. You want to make sure that you can get them seated, because right now this one probably looks like it's seated because it can't go any farther, but there, now it's equal with that one. We got all the valve springs installed except for this one. I put weaker springs on there, that way we can easily push them down. Oh, well, I just popped the keepers off, but I can push them down and then check how much piston to valve clearance we have. I'll show you guys how to do that. So we gotta take tension off of those valves up top so that we can set the lash to 0. So you loosen this nut and that gives you the adjustment to bring this up or down. See how it's loose? Not wiggling anymore. That's 0 lash. And if you go further, it's going to start pushing the valve down, right? Don't want that. So right there, set at 0 lash. So now we check again. We 0 it. I'm pretty sure this is a problem. This is our exhaust. 41 thousandths. Probably 40. 41. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be more than that. I'm very frustrated at the machine shop that did this resurface. They resurfaced the block. They weren't able to tell me how much they took off. They just said not much. And well, yeah, they took off a lot because this was a stock block. The deck height was normal. Part that made me suspicious is right here above the oil cooler. There's normally a lip right here. So I knew extra got taken off. That's why I asked the machine shop, how much did you take off? And yeah, they had no idea. This is great. More work, more money. If it ain't one thing, it's another. I'm not really worried about the intake being at 45 thousandths clearance. I'm more worried about the exhaust being at 45 thousandths clearance. If you guys don't know, piston's chasing the exhaust valve up and then the intake's coming down. I'd be kind of safe running the intake that low. It's still risky, but the exhaust, absolutely not. That is way too tight. The piston would probably punch it on its way up because it wouldn't be closing fast enough. So to solve this issue, I can fly cut some off of the top of these pistons, right? My piston protrusion's 40 thousandths of an inch. Stock, I believe it's around 20. So that's putting us over. And then our valve recession, stock valve recession's around 55 thousandths of an inch. This one's 40. So in between those two, 35 thousandths of an inch over. That's what's causing us to get real close. So how do we get here with this much being taken off, right? I don't normally like hating on companies. When I pay $1,000 to get something done, I walk in and I ask the machinist, hey, how much did you take off of the block, right? He said the bare minimum. I said, okay, what was the bare minimum? He said, I don't know. And then he turned around and kept working on what he was doing. That's a little frustrating, right? Especially when I just spent $1,100. I have a diesel, tight clearances. I need to know what you guys took off, right? Now I got this machine work done probably, we're getting close to a year ago now, and took me a long time to get around to this project, right? So I'm just realizing it now. If I realized it then, probably could have dealt with it. I am sick of machine shops. I really don't want to deal with them. I think the route that we're gonna go is I'm gonna buy a new set of pistons. The new set of pistons I'm looking at already have a fly cut valve relief in them, and I think that's gonna work great for us, right? It's gonna reduce the compression a little bit, but that's all right because we have basically a scalped block. So our compression's already increased quite a bit. I do want to know your guys' opinions though. I'm not an expert engine builder, nor am I a machinist. What do you guys think? 45 thousandths? Is that enough? I don't think so. So I'm going to go ahead and order the pistons. But I do want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm sorry this old girl's not put together.